Thank you also for the opportunity to have networked with AfriForum. SAI is a network for family farmers, and we try not to duplicate any functions, so we set up networking partnerships with organizations that already have capacity. There's no bigger capacity at this stage across our country to mobilize rural communities against crime and against farm attacks than AfriForum has, and hence this partnership. From a global perspective, South Africa is right there amongst the top contenders of most dangerous areas to farming. Others are, of course, the war zones in the Middle East, especially Syria. But in that case, it is a war that is mostly affecting cities, and the rural areas is just an extension of that. Other areas where we have a similar pressure on the safety of farmers is the northeastern areas of Nigeria, the northeastern areas of Congo, northeastern areas of Kenya, and northeastern areas of Mozambique over the last few weeks. In the case of South Africa, as you have seen, the problem is spread across the whole country. It is currently more dangerous to be a farmer in South Africa than to be a policeman, simply based on the number of attacks and the number of farm murders. Often I am being asked across the world by other farmers' organizations, and in my capacity I also often meet with governments. You have a problem with crime in general in your country. Isn't farm attacks just an extension of crime that is also prevalent in the Cape Flats and in rural communities in general, in townships? And it's not. Farm attacks and farm murders is not just an extension of crime in South Africa. And there are three very important distinctions. Firstly, no political party calls for murders elsewhere in our country. There's never a call, kill an inhabitant of the Cape Flats, kill a gangster, like you have kill a farmer, kill the boer. The rest is not being called for. Secondly, the nature of these attacks is much different. In attacks on households on the Cape Flats or in rural towns and rural villages, you do not have the same brutality, torture. They do not drill into the kneecaps of Noma or take out her eyes. And thirdly, after these attacks, there is not the same cry out in social media, especially on Twitter, like you'll have on farm attacks. Well done, there should be more. And there are thousands of them. Actually, it's embarrassing when you address governments elsewhere in the world to explain that there is no follow-up on this kind of comments on social media. For us as farmers, we accept, firstly, that this is not a race-based thing. Farmers who are attacked and farmers who are murdered are not only white farmers. We have a similar problem with all the other race groups. Secondly, it's not only us as farm owners or primary producers, as you have seen, 26%. It's also on our workers. And we are extremely concerned with the rise in the number of attacks on our workers too. And thirdly, we have accepted a while ago that no one is going to do something about it if we don't do something about it. And it's of absolute importance that every farming family in our country must have a plan on how to deal with attacks. And it's not only for that family, it's for that community. How do we help each other? How do you help your neighbor when there's attack? How do you close the valley in which you farm? How do you mobilize all other resources, local security firms, the local police, the farmers' organization, even churches who these days have emergency plans to ensure that communities do it for themselves when there are farm attacks. Of course, we dream of a day when this thing will be over. Of course, we hope that there will be a new normal one day when this will not be the stain on our current time history. I actually represent the Zimbabwean farmers at the World Farmers Organization. I've been nominated by them. My family used to farm there. And we have something different to Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe never had this phenomenon. Of course, there were also farm attacks. There were also farm murders, but not a patch of what we see here. I have to report back very often, and every time I visit Zimbabwe, they sympathize with us. Guys, hang in there. Like we used to sympathize with them. Guys, hang in there. Things will be better soon. And lastly, this is not an agricultural problem. This is not a farmer's problem. This is a problem for South Africa as a whole. And it needs a national strategy. We need to put more pressure on government to have a national strategy against farm attacks. We need to put pressure on government to set up a special unit in the police to take care of this. Government needs to put more resources into this, and it will not do so unless we put enough pressure, both internally and externally. Hence, we call on each and every South African there. Let's do something about these numbers, and let's push for a new normal.